Liberal Arts at at Amity University, Lucknow campus. He has been into academics since 2006. He has also worked as program head for International Business Program, director for Jhunjhunwala Business School and Quantum School of Business. Sir has a number of research articles in various reputed journals and has actively been the part of various conferences, seminars, and workshops. His expert areas are educational leadership, youth mentoring, management consulting, consumer analytics, and innovative pedagogical tools. In this session, Sir will be sharing his insights on the topic Holistic Development in Higher Education Institutions, Jeevan Kaushal. Now, I would like to invite Academic Head, Sunbeam Women's College, Varuna, Dr. Manisha Singh, to welcome Sir. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon and Jai Hind to all of you. It's a privilege for me to welcome our guest, Professor Rohit Kushwaha, in our 10 days faculty development program. So we welcome you here, and I'm sure that we would have a great session with you. So welcome again, you sir, and over to you, Himanshi ma'am.
There is a little information for the participants. We'll be sharing the feedback and attendance link in the chat box by the end of the session. Along with that, you will be having an assessment quiz, which is time bound, and you have to fill it in the given time frame. So you all are requested to attend the session attentively and revert to the portions in the quiz. The platform is yours, sir, now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Himanshi. Always a pleasure to see you again. And my gratitude to Sunbeam College, its management, and the principal, Dr. Rajiv, for giving me this opportunity to interact with my peers. It is always a delight, in fact, and more challenging to interact with your peers, because most of us have our unique styles which we bring to our academic teaching learning processes. And NFDP is a wonderful opportunity where we can share our thoughts with each other. Though today I've been given a specific session on which I would like to go a little deeper. Looking at holistic development, Himanshi, if it's fine, then I would like to share my screen. Shall I?
Sure, sir. Sure, sir.
Okay. Is that visible now? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And I'm audible, I hope, clearly to everyone.
Yes, sir.
Because I'm not using a headphone. So if at any point of time, and as I'm talking to faculties, even with students today, we want more of an interactive session, becomes very challenging when we are doing it virtually. Talking to a screen sometimes becomes very monotonous. So as many of you, please keep your cameras on. It makes me feel that I'm talking to some people who are actually there, even if they get a little bored. But the challenge that we are talking about, see, I can definitely speak about my generation and possibly people who are above 40, that most of the things that we studied or the way we were taught in our times when we were in college is almost extinct today. Today, it has even the subjects, so many of them are absolutely new to the management field or each of your domains, whichever domain all the faculties are from. So then it becomes extremely challenging and the learning process becomes a continual process. When we talk about holistic, so is the slide not? Oh, yeah. So when we are talking about the relevance of holistic development and the value-based system in enhancing effectiveness of teaching, couple of keywords which I would like to pick up from here. One is, what do we mean by holistic development? What is the value-based system? And how will it enhance the effectiveness of teaching? Before we start communicating all of these things, and subsequently we'll come to Jeevan Kaushal as well, I think it's more important before we transmit anything to the students that we imbibe it ourselves. If we are able to perceive the insights and ingrain them in our everyday activities and the way we walk into the classroom, the way we interact with our students, the way we prepare for our sessions, that would automatically translate into what gets communicated to our students. So, having said that, what is the process? If I may ask, if there is a question somebody wishes to ask, would you prefer to keep it at the end of the session or during the session?
Sir,
Uh,
it's on your wish. If you want it during the session, we can
Fine.
moderate it for
We,
you, or at the end of the session.
what I will do is then I will go through phases of it, take a pause of a minute after each, and if there are any queries or any questions which have been put in the chat box, then I would request Himanshi if you can just read them out, and I will try and respond the best I can. Having said that, let's, I would be, we are all aware, and this is the latest document after a long, long wait of many decades that a national education policy has come to us in 2020. In this, one of the major metrics is towards a more holistic education. Each of the segments, each of the highlights are very, very critical. But right now, particularly for the duration of this session, we are focusing on the holistic education part, which is 11.1 to 11.13. Now, when I talk about holistic development, there is a whole range of things that we are talking about. We're talking about imagination, logical thinking, cognitive skills, creative skills. Before we get into each of these, I would request my esteemed colleagues to take a moment and do a little introspection. How many of these do we actively work upon ourselves? Do we give a little time to working on our imagination, to developing skills on logical thinking, cognitive skills, well and fine, creative skills? How many of us have been trained in these? How many have been of us have been exposed to this? To some, a larger or smaller extent, we all practice these knowingly and unknowingly. But when we are wanting to communicate it and transfer it to our students, then we have to consciously prepare that, okay, these are the steps, or these are the tools, or this is the methodology through which I will be able to effectively transfer it in my class and to my surrounding, wherever I am. So, first of all, I would say that self awareness is the first step, which comes on the left of the screen in my case. So, self awareness is where we start to do a realistic self assessment, and then we start working on our. Now, we could have very strong cognitive skills, creative skills, but are our social skills in are they matching what is required? Because if we are lacking in our social skills or our language skills, then our effective communication is not going to happen. That is the crux of everything. If I have a lot of knowledge and I'm not able to transmit it effectively, then it is a wasted effort, or that is not, or that knowledge cannot really be put to use for the society at large. And that is what we aim to do in this noble profession of ours, chosen profession, I would say, because for me, it was a very conscious decision to shift from industry after almost 15 years in the industry and to education. But I was extremely passionate about it, as I'm sure all of you who have chosen this profession as your mainstay. So, cognitive skills, spatial awareness, emotional awareness. There is another format which also depicts this to some extent. That is, if I those were 10, here we have 12. We have rigor in broad curriculum, creative freedom to the students. Why must the answers be just by rote, just by remembering? Spiritual development, emotional development, cognitive development,
guess we have lost the connection with the sir. We'll just wait for a minute.
Requesting everyone to kindly be patient. Sir will be rejoining due to certain internet glitch. He got disconnected. Himanshu ma'am, I would suggest you to kindly share the quiz link till then so that everyone can fill the quiz. Sir will be rejoining us, so please hold on. He is there.
I'm so sorry, I got disconnected. Total electricity failure, and I don't know why the inverter also didn't start. So, my apologies to all of you. And I
Okay,
hope,
please continue.
am I connected now? Is the voice going through clearly or is it delayed?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
You're audible, clearly audible.
Normally it doesn't happen, but I don't know why it has happened. And right now I can't get up and see what the problem is. So moving forward, uh, I was just talking about all of these, and there are so many dimensions to it from the experience which I've had over the years, and what I'm actually the challenges my faculties are facing, which I'm sure all of us are, unless and until we do a clear mapping and scheduling for how we are going to take time out for each of these aspects, or how faculties are going to be responsible for different dimensions or different focus areas for it to be effectively practiced in the college, in our curriculums, in our interactions with the students. So, from here, if I were to talk about what is holistic development simply is a comprehensive approach in which learning aims to develop multiple facets or abilities of a human brain. Now, all these concepts are in the human brain. Even the physical or the motor controls are controlled by the brain itself. So, we need to focus on keeping it healthy, positive, and optimistic, which is a little challenging and the times or the times which have gone by, and the uncertainty about the future. But if we can be strong-willed about it, then I think we can move in this direction. Holistic growth aims at the development of physical capabilities, intellectual abilities, cognitive or mental abilities, emotional abilities, and social skills. All of these I will come to, or we will explore more in depth. But before that, I am just going to deviate a little bit quickly. I will not take much time, but I just wanted to refresh in case it has been covered well and fine. It'll be a revision. Otherwise, it'll just quick. Why is this not moving now? So when we talk about physical capabilities, these include the gross motor skills, definitely, and development of the psychomotor abilities. That is a wide range of fine motor movements. And our sensory, the five sense organs that we normally are aware of, but mostly the sight, touch, and hearing are what we are using for developing these. And that is one of the reasons why today, even in most of our curriculum or imparting lessons, we are including videos, audios, role plays, interactive case studies, a lot of discussions, and so on, so that all of these sensory organs are being used in developing the physical capabilities of the students. If I were to move on, I am just going to take a minute here. We talk about the Bloom's taxonomy, which is the byword today in all our academic pedagogical tools. So remembering and understanding is what we are trying to transfer more and more onto the students. As we are going into blended teaching, that is, some of it is face-to-face, some of it is online, some of it is through videos of the faculties. We want to utilize our class time on the top 3 or 4 areas mostly. That is, teaching the students how to apply the facts and rules and the concepts which they have been exposed to, breaking down the information into its component parts to be able to better analyze, better make sense out of it. This is what we are doing at the research level, which most of the faculties now absolutely either have done or are pursuing. And then, of course, comes the last and the topmost, that is the create. This becomes relevant because when I'm talking about holistic development, each component needs to go through these various steps or the various levels. That is the reason I wanted to quickly refresh. I know all of you are familiar with Bloom's taxonomy. It is a byword today. But before I move on, because we'll be connecting all of these, and from these, we come to the cognitive. If I were to specifically talk about the cognitive, then in the cognitive sense, I would be looking at possibly at the knowledge level being the initial level. From there, I move to the comprehension and subsequently the application, analysis, synthesis, and then the evaluation. In the cognitive domain, that is what we are normally maximum exposed to or practicing. So this was just quickly to recap and refresh before I move on. If there are any questions on this, I would be happy to take them in a while. As to building on this, sometimes my faculties on occasion have questioned what kind of questions do we need to ask? What type of words do we need to use for each of these levels? So I'll just quickly share of the 6 levels. If I were to take the knowledge, understanding, apply, analyze, evaluate, and create, these are some of the words. At the knowledge level, we'll be using asking questions like define this, identify, describe, recognize, and so on. It moves subsequently to summarize, interpret, classify. That is when we are trying to assess the understanding as faculties. And quite often, particularly in our research efforts, this is the preferred stepwise process of elevation in our research paper. We would be first looking at the knowledge and then looking at the understand, finally going into the analysis and the evaluation. And if something new is created out of that research process, we have design and the create level, which we would be addressing. So having said this, uh, these are the things, but today the challenge is these were far easier to discuss or take up in class when we were in a face-to-face mode. Today we are in a digital era. Even now, I was just before starting the session inquiring and was not surprised that all of you are also using online classroom teaching at the moment, whichever platform different institutions are using. But when we transfer these 6 levels to the digital format, then the term or the words or the terminology slightly modifies. And these are some of the words which come in the digital planning, or these are the digital planning verbs. So, when we are trying to talk about remembering, so we are doing more of copying, defining, finding, locating, quoting, and so on. At the applying level, we are judging, executing, examining, implementing, and so on. Now, this is just to sensitize you that all of these resources are available online. It is not some unique research that I'm sharing with you. It's just to sensitize and familiarize you so that you can go out there, use these, locate them as per your requirement, whichever need is to be fulfilled. So all of these are there, but we need to be more focused, because today when we talk about learning outcomes of students, holistic learning needs to be assessed. Whatever learning is happening needs to be assessed. It could be subjective, it could be objective. It could be direct measures, it could be indirect measures. But unless we are able to measure, we will not be able to know whether we are making an impact, a positive impact in the growth and the development of the student. So when you're developing those tools of assessment, these are some of the words or the questions or the language which you will be using, so that you can, have a comprehensive overview of the students' all around development, which is what holistic development is all about. So this is easier said than done when we are actually trying to frame the questions and keep the levels in mind, and subsequently the number of marks we are attaching to each level of assessment, like possibly remembering would be the least and the creating part would be the highest. In the interim, you have applying, analyzing, and evaluating. So this is far more challenging when, so with practice, small steps, baby steps is what I say, so that we don't get discouraged that this is too complicated and we cannot do it. Of course, we can do it and we are doing it, but it just needs a little application and repeated practice. So if you start imbibing this and bringing it into your everyday pedagogy, it'll become a routine habit. You will not really have to make an extra effort for it. So it becomes very, very exciting, in fact, because these are things which are new to us in many ways, and we would like to explore them. So Bloom's taxonomy, one was the standard one. This was more for the digital planning platforms. And subsequently from here, I say that the mindset matters. I thought these were some of the questions which, or the attitudes, so to speak, and the gut reaction to them, and possibly how we need to modify them. The colored ones are the ones which we would prefer to move towards. Like, I made a mistake. Mistakes help me learn, so no problem. I will not repeat it. But I made a mistake. That's okay. It's only human. It's good enough. But do I need to take a moment to introspect and say, but is this my best work, or can I improve upon it further? Which is what we do when we're writing a research paper. We do so many revisions of it, and still we're not satisfied, but then time is running out. So we send it, and then again it comes back, and again you improve upon it, and again you send it. So is this my best work? I'm not good at this. So what should I do? Should I just walk away? I'm not comfortable with the digital platforms. We never used it. I'm not a techie person. No, but if there is no choice, we have to. So I'm just getting started, and gradually I'll be there. So turning the slightly dismal to the more optimistic and more hopeful and positive, that is what I think we as faculties today definitely have to pay attention to, and our energies, our, as we say, self-awareness levels have to be in sync for us to make meaningful strides in the new era. And trust you me that this is not the end of it. This transformation and the mixing of modes and platforms is going to continue at a very rapid pace till maybe after 4 or 5 years, things will smoothen out and again become some kind of a regular format, which will again be a hybrid or a blended mode. So when I say I come across something and I'm not able to solve it, so I give up. No, let me try another way. I've just found one way that it doesn't work. I'm a natural, but I still improve with practice. I'm very good at something, but I can still improve upon it. I can't do it. I'm on the right track. So these are things, again, uh, I, because the audience today are my colleagues who are very familiar with all of these, but the reason for my including this particular slide with all of you is because quite often, sometimes I myself, sometimes my colleagues, we reach to these responses. I'm not good at this. So please find somebody who's good at it and they'll do it. Or, no, I'm not good at it, so I'm not even going to try. It's not up my ally. So please, the mindset matters. And this is the first and the most crucial step. Change your slightly dismal responses to positive ones, to strong self-belief ones. From here, we come, when you go back to the holistic development, the first one, the intellectual capability and development. When we talk about intellectual or intellect, intellect basically is the capacity for rational thought, inferences that we draw. A person who uses his mind creatively for good reasons, and the creations are not hypothetical ones, because then it would not be rational or logical. So developing the intellectual capability and cognitive ability, this would include uh, learn from information and experience. It involves learning from data and information, learning from doing an activity, which is the best form, development of abstract thinking abilities, understanding and thinking about concepts, ideas, principles, and objects, which are non-verbal or not physically present. We talk about nuances, we talk about interpretation, we talk about understanding things which are not verbally or explicitly stated. And those are the abilities which we want all of us to develop, or if they are existing, to polish and improve upon them, because it makes for better social connect, it makes for better understanding of the other perspective, as well as grasping the concepts far more easily. Development of comprehension abilities, the ability to understand and comprehend written and verbal information. uh, Often I've seen that people, even when they're reading, they are not really imbibing what is there in the form of words, but their interpretation is somewhat different from what was actually written. So the comprehension has to be accurate and focused, which brings me to another thing which uh, we tell our students, we tell our children for that matter, quite often. ध्यान लगा के पढ़ो, concentrate. You're not concentrating. My question to all of you would be, have we ever taught them how to concentrate? Have we taught ourselves how to concentrate? Or with experience of due to pressure of work and other things, that concentration automatically happens. But children need to be, and students particularly need to be taught how to concentrate. It is again just like any other activity, starts in small quantums, and with regular practice, the quantum of concentration, the ability to concentrate, focus, and absorb what is being communicated, and it increases. But again, concentration, just to say that you're concentrate, is not enough. So let us take a moment, a step back, and spend a little time helping them learn, or helping ourselves learn how to concentrate. When we are when we are interacting with somebody, or somebody is talking to us, quite often we're not even listening to what the person is saying. We have assumed what the person is going to say and our mind is somewhere else. This happens with everybody quite often, and that is when we need to refocus, tell ourselves, get back in the game. This is where what is being said, pay complete attention to the person who is making the effort of trying to communicate something to you, or or make you understand something. So comprehension and comprehend are vitally important. The right meaning needs to be absorbed and subsequently practiced. Development of logical and analytical thinking abilities, absolute must. Development of critical thinking abilities, examining concepts, ideas, giving them the freedom to think differently. These students must have this sense of freedom, even if sometimes it borders on the absurd. We have to give them that much flexibility. Otherwise, if we just box them into very stylized and contained answers, their creativity or their power of ideation would get eliminated and snuffed out. That would not be our end objective. We are looking at a holistic development. In that case, we have to give them that freedom, that, no, that flexibility. Now, development of creative thinking abilities, I just spoke about, and problem solving abilities. If they're not able to find a solution in the first shot, try another route. Just quite often when we are trying to explain a concept in class and students are not able to understand, we immediately change tack and approach it from a different aspect, from a different angle. And that is how we communicate. So students again need to, quite often students, when they are explaining to each other, the concepts become clearer to themselves as well as the other person is better able to understand it. So this, if we can also, this practice, if we can engender and nurture in our classes, I think that would also help our students in their holistic development and of ourselves. When I'm talking about all of these things, right at the beginning, I said, first we need to imbibe more these into ourselves, and only then can we expect that we'll be able to transfer them successfully. If we are practitioners, we believe in it, we will be able to definitely successfully transfer to the others and expand our influence. Emotional ability development. This is a very, very sensitive and a very prominent area today. So, emotional maturity, emotional stability, these are factors which, in today's times of immediate connectivity, these are high pressure points. Intrapersonal abilities and interpersonal abilities both need to be focused upon. Understanding the self, what are my strengths, weaknesses, my capabilities, what I wish to build, what I want to spend time on, and my self confidence or self belief that yes, I can do it. The interpersonal abilities to understand others. When a person is putting forth a point of view which is different from our own belief or our own information base, then we tend just to put the shutters down and not give enough of an open listening to the other people. That has to also be controlled. That, please, with an open mind, think, give space for the other person's thoughts so that you're able to, maybe there is something of value for what the other person is saying, even if it is different from our own, there may be a good takeaway from it. So understand others. That for that we need these self awareness time for ourselves. I don't know how many of you are able to take me time every day from the hectic routine that we are all following in our academic pursuits of research and academic delivery, preparing for the new academic session, all of these things. But that little bit of me time is very required. So try and take it out whenever each one of your, as per your schedules, whenever it's comfortable for you. But take time out to do a little introspection. What were the things I could have done better today? What is the thing that I need to work upon? When will I work upon it and how will I work upon it? All of these things, if it's comfortable for you, write them down somewhere so that it may be a passing thought at that time, but it's of value. You can always go back to your notes and have a look at it and start work on it again in a planned manner. So these are all self-regulation, development of empathy. Empathy today is at a premium and definitely the required ingredient for everyday existence. So before I move on, are there any questions so far? If not, then I will continue. And is there a option that the attendees can write their questions in a chat box or something? Himanshi?
Chat box is enabled for all the participants, but there's no queries as of now.
Good. Either nobody's listening or they've understood everything. It can be either. You have anyway invited me at a lunchtime. So, most of them would not be too happy attendees right now. But as faculties, I think we are quite used to our lunchtimes moving here and there as per our classes and the availability of other things. So, TK, it's challenging, but at least those of you who are here, I hope I'm making some sense. I'm trying to talk in a manner that we talk as colleagues. I am not here as a teacher or a senior person because these are challenges I face. When we're preparing for class, when we have to go for, there are so many things crowding in, and then the whole day just whizzes by. You just don't know where the day has gone. And then you don't have that half an hour or 15 minutes at least to yourself. And you can say, this is me time. Now I am not going to talk with anybody, receive any phone calls, check my WhatsApp, nothing. Even my wife and my children, 15 minutes are not going to disturb me. So I can tell them, 15 minute up, I am not here. So I don't know. Everybody has to figure it out for themselves, whichever works for you, depending on your situation. So coming to this, we need to develop our social skills. Today, social skills have dwindled, have gone down immensely. For the simple reason, even when people are together, they are stuck to their electronic gadgets. The interaction or this involves to communicate with others effectively has gone down. Sometimes, even if somebody is sitting in the other room, rather than getting up, going and talking to them, you'll just text them, uh, are you coming? Are you meeting for lunch today? Walk across and talk to them. And similarly, the social skills, knowingly or unknowingly, have tremendously dwindled, but are a vital part of our holistic development, our mental health, our physical health. Both are being impacted adversely uh, by the proliferance of this electronic gadgetry all around us. Social skills need to be developed. So wherever we have the opportunity, we need to create forums where our students can work on these, develop on these. Even when we are in the remote format, just share some experiences, and I would love to hear from some of you as well, how you have tried to make your students interact with each other. A lot of them, particularly the first years who joined, took admission and have stayed 1 year just online. They have never met their colleagues, they have never met their seniors, their juniors, the faculties. So what kind of activities have you been doing? We've been doing a lot of club activities, 6, 7, 8 clubs we have which are operational. Those are run by students, managed by students, and mostly the content or the event which they organize for themselves. We just keep a very peripheral oversight on it, not to interfere, to keep it minimal so that it just does not cross any boundaries of decency, is acceptable universally, and is at a universal level of acceptance. Otherwise, we have given them this freedom, and we've had wonderful sessions of experience sharing, of personal uh, trauma, travails which students have had, and they've got the support of their classmates. They have had these laugh sessions where they've shared just jokes with each other and made fun of, the situation, the events, and other things. The idea was to try and increase the rational concept or the social aspect of these students the best that we can given the circumstances. I know most of you would be really waiting for the campus to open where you can get your students face to face, and then that will really feel like a faculty once again. So The electricity has gone again. Am I connected?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. I've kept the hotspot on so I don't lose connectivity. This we have just gone through. So this was just a refresher on that, because then we've done the physical, we've done the emotional. Now, when we come to the key elements of holistic development, we talk about four parameters, which would be the language. Language includes part of the upbringing, the not just the spoken, but the way the brain develops, the stimulants, what responses they give, and we work on these in both these verbal as well as non-verbal. Both work needs to be done, and I'll be coming to that when I'm specifically discussing the Jivan Kaushal aspects of it. uh, UGC has emphatically focused on that. We have our current session, which has just opened. We are doing a 5-day orientation with our students called Diksharamb, and so on. So what we are trying to do is make the students understand better what is it that we aim to do, how are we going to do it together, and what is their role in it, and what is our role in it as faculties. So this gets them to the second level of thinking. And then if there are issues, definitely when we talk about the cognitive skills of developing cognitive skills, we are looking at thinking, problem solving, conceptual understanding, and overall intelligence. Uh, there is a question which I am going to not answer but leave with all of you, that in your class you would have some very bright students and some not so bright students. We need to find who are the slow learners and how we can give them something different, and some extra hand holding can be done for the slow learners, and what different and additional can we give to the fast learners. So that is a challenge which faculties are facing. And the question which is here is, on what factors, on what parameters would you identify a slow learner? Not necessarily the student who gets the lowest marks. He's not necessarily the slow learner. So think about this, and I leave it with all of you. Fine, physical we have discussed, and the socio-emotional also we have discussed to some extent. Now, when we are exercising, see, when we walk into a classroom, we walk in with our preparation of different tools which we carry into the class. Today, I'm going to do this, which will elicit or give me this response, or this is what the student is going to feel, or he will derive, or he will get out of it. So when we walk into the classroom, we need to be aware what are the various things which I'm trying to give him the stimulus for. What response should it get? Should it get the student to thinking? Should it develop his language skills? Should it make him more aware about his social emotional state, or is it physical? So that remains an ongoing challenge. And on that, we can expand or we can have longer sessions, but leaving the thought with each of you, you need to prepare before walking into the class on all of these parameters. And for that, I am just going to again deviate a little bit, do a small refresher, and familiarize or just remind all my learned colleagues about some of the things that we talk about. But if you want others to learn some values in life, a better way to teach them, the best way is to live by those values yourself, which is what I've been saying since the beginning. We need to imbibe all of these, be aware about all of the holistic development ourselves. A lot of us, myself included, there are areas and dimensions which I need to work on consciously. And unless I am self aware, I will not know which are the areas where more work is required or more focus is required. So, we are talking about a holistic through a value based system. Holistic was one. The second critical term picked up from the topic was value based system. A value-based education is an approach to teaching that works with values. What values? We will just take up in a minute. It creates a strong learning environment that enhances academic achievements, develops students' social and relationship skills, and last throughout their lives. So they go on developing. So we try to give them this platform, a very strong foundation on which they can keep growing and developing as they go through their life. Different dimensions, different situations will require different. But if the foundation is strong, if the fundamentals are strong, they will find it much easier to build and modify and organically keep moving successfully ahead. The positive learning environment is achieved through the positive values modeled by the staff throughout the college. So, coming to the objectives of the value-based system, to develop good moral values, to develop thinking in a better aspect and democratic way of living, to develop a good citizenship and standard of living, and to develop tolerance and make a person a kind person. These are some of the objectives of the value based systems. The pedagogies that we follow for this: active learning, action, research, inquiry, problem solving. Quite often, I don't know, again, today's session, I'm just peppering it with some of my own observations, my own learnings through the interaction with students. When we talk about research, the moment I say the word research, most students face, loses that and that happiness or joy, as if research is some kind of a mind-numbing activity. So when I asked them, you carrying a very nice mobile phone, so did you research for it? And that is when they make the connect that yes, research is something which we do consciously, unconsciously throughout our lives. And if we can be systematic about it, it is just it's not a bad word to listen to. So action, research, inquiry, problem solving, community-based service learning. I'll come to this, why each of these are important at an individual level and at the group level as well. Student mentoring is one of the most vitally crucial areas, particularly in today's times. I am sure you all also have a mentor-mentee system where certain students are assigned to a faculty and the faculty acts as a mentor. This is for all other issues apart from the academic ones which a student may be facing. So for that, we need to form that kind of a trust bond with the students so that the students feel comfortable opening up and sharing their problems. It takes a lot of time, energy, and effort, but it is definitely worth it because that is when you bond with the student for a lifetime. I have students who 15 years ago still coming back to me. They're still in touch. I think that's about it. That they're still getting something, and that is because of that trust bond which we form as faculties, as mentors with our students. And this is the variation. I'm just refreshing over here. When the previous one, sorry, this one, each of these components must evoke a response in the students. The kind of activities that we do, the kind of language that we use, the body language, the spoken language, the written language, everything gets a response. And when I talk about it, so it is, I'm talking about different activities, different actions generating these four happy chemicals, which is what we want to focus on: the dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, endorphin. Most of you are familiar with it. I'll quickly go through it so that we don't. When your brain releases one of these chemicals, you feel good. Now, just to refresh again, what activity or what action releases each of these and which feeling do they generate in oneself? When I talk about dopamine, now your brain wants all of them, but too much of a good thing is also bad. So we just don't want to focus on one of them. We want to focus on all of them. And talking about dopamine, it is a great feeling that you will succeed at meetings. It is the great feeling that you will succeed at meeting your needs. Uh, it's right there in our genetic code, right from since human beings evolved. Uh, a sense of joy when you find something that you are really wanting to find, when you're really looking for something. It could be an answer or a solution to a problem that you're facing because you put in that effort and you finally, it's that eureka moment. So that is when you feel, yes, the dopamine surges in your body and you feel that wonderful feeling of happiness. Like, I got it. That is what I'm trying to communicate here. So if we can have those questions, those quizzes, those puzzles, those interactions with students, where at these arriving at the right answer or finding the right solution, they get this feeling that pushes them on, that energizes them to put in more effort and keep going. That is what our pedagogical tools must keep in mind to generate more and more of dopamine in our interactions with our students. Serotonin, it flows when you feel important. Every human being wants to feel important. Going back to what I said earlier, quite often when somebody is talking to you, you are not focused 100% on that person. Try it. Next time somebody, even a relative at home is talking to you, just stop everything and give them 100% of your attention. And the serotonin in that person will surge. They feel important. You are focused on them. You are giving them 100% of your attention. It's very easy, but it needs to be consciously practiced and gradually it becomes a habit. Anything to make it anything a habit. Some people say that you need to do it regularly for 21 days. Some say you need to do it for 45 days. I don't know, to each one of you, whatever it works for you. Coming to the third one, that is oxytocin, is the feeling of trust. It gives you a wonderful feeling when you're with someone you trust, particularly when we are mentoring the students. If we can build that bond of trust, it will make a world of difference to them. What you say will actually bring about a change in them. So, oxytocin is something which is the foundation on which we try to build or bring about a meaningful change in our colleagues, in our students, whoever we are interacting with. So, trust is very, very vital to building all other components. Otherwise, the person is just not going to take you seriously. So, these are just something similar. So, I'll not spend. This is the fourth one, that is the endorphin, is the brief euphoria that masks physical pain. So endorphin, when you suddenly get hurt, you don't feel the pain right away. It happens later. And endorphins kick in and you keep going and you keep performing. That is what. So this was just a quick peek into this because this is a fascinating area. And the deeper you delve into it, the better insights and understanding you will have of human nature, and experimenting with that, playing around with it in your classrooms, in your interactions with your students and faculties is going to make life far more interesting and enjoyable, is what I would definitely want to share with all of you. Reasons behind the erosion of values, this certainly we need to look at. Lack of mortality, how is that? That is, our lifespans have become extended. So we are less concerned about our morality. अभी तो बहुत टाइम है, आगे ठीक कर लेंगे, फिर हो जाएगा. It doesn't matter right now. It's not so important. Right now I can just do this. Okay, let me do it once. All these kind of things, and every human being does it. So this is one of the reasons, the lack of mortality. So there should be specific moral vision for human beings. Lack of leadership quality. We look around us and we find so many qualities lacking in our leaders. So leadership, unless you have faith in them, unless you have trust in them, and that you believe that they have your best interest at heart, Leadership quality among the teachers is another reason for value deterioration. This is what research says. But I somehow do not agree completely, because I think vast majority of the faculties still epitomize good forms, good moral character, and good qualities which a student can look up to. Everywhere there will be an odd person out, but let's not focus on them and let's stay positive. Lack of honesty, sometimes it may be just so small as marking an attendance or marking an absent, a present, present, and absent, or giving 2 extra marks or not giving those 2 extra marks when deserved. So lack of honesty, these are very small micro things, but they send out a larger message to the audience. So we need to be very, very careful about it. The profession that we have chosen to be in demands a very high amount of accountability. It's not just when we are on campus, even when we are off campus. Our sense of morality, our sense of values, our sense of honesty has to be impeccable, in so much as that is what is going to be the leading light for the ones we touch in meaningful ways. So be very, very clear about this and be very focused on this. So the importance of value education, teaching, bringing around a sense of responsibility, sincerity, cooperation, team play is very important in today's times. Collaboration is something which we are focusing on in a big way. We are being asked to, and as well as for our own benefit, collaboration is required. Even when faculties, most of you would be writing your research papers and all. So some of you may be very strong in the concept side of it, and some of you may be possibly very strong on the quantitative side of it or the statistics side of it. So collaborate. Bring in a statistician, bring in a concept person, and write a wonderful paper. Similarly, if the students can complement each other, everybody cannot be excellent at everything. Some would be your areas of strength, and the ones in which you are a little weaker, complemented by bonding and cooperating or collaborating with people who are stronger in those areas. A scientific temperament is absolutely required, sensitivity, as well as when we talk about empathy, emotional quotient, those things today are very, very important. And a tolerance towards others. Let us agree to disagree. You have your point of view, I have my point of view, but we don't have to fight about it unless and until it is overlapping or harming each other. So let you, fine, you believe in something else, I believe in something else. You have your space, you have your peace of mind, I have my peace of mind. So we agree to disagree and live happily together. Tolerance. How value-based education helps in attaining life goals. It gives a positive direction to the students. It teaches them the best way to live that can be beneficial to individuals. Also helps the students to become more and more responsible and sensible. We are experimenting a lot with flipped classroom style of teaching. Maybe some of you are as well. It is the need of the hour, because the quantum of information which has exploded across the globe and the easy access that we have to it will require making our students more responsible and sensible, so that they take on the at least the first two levels of the Bloom's taxonomy is their purview and their responsibility. And then we can focus on the higher levels, that is of evaluation, analysis, application, and so on. It also helps students to develop a strong relationship with family and friends. When they have this higher, a more aware sense of self-worth and belief, it will definitely translate into better relationship with family and friends, develops the character, and value education develops a positive view of life in the student's mind. Now, what are the methods of imparting value-based system? Very quickly, some of the ones are by telling them, by modeling, studying biographies of great men. This is an art which is diminished or been lost quite a lot. So quite often we have these sessions where we assign various books, or the students select their own books. They read them, they present a short brief review or the highlights they share with the class. So that is how we encourage them to do this. problem solving and role playing. Role playing is a wonderful tool which I encourage most of my colleagues to use as and where applicable, insofar as applicable. It really makes them connect and feel and absorb the concept whichever has been shared with them. Coming to Jeevan Kaushal, how am I for time, Himanshi? Is my time, I have 10 minutes. Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You have that.
Okay. Otherwise, just stop me 5 minutes in advance. So, because you call a professor to speak, then he doesn't know. My classes, I normally forget when the class is over. Students के जब चेहरे होते हैं कि अभी खत्म नहीं हुआ, तब मालूम चलता है अच्छा क्लास खत्म हो गया है. I must move out of the classroom now. So, Jeevan Kaushal, this is what is a key component of the holistic development and the holistic teaching learning processes, value-based learning teaching processes. I'll very briefly go into this because this in itself is a huge area. I would want all of you to go on the UGC site. There is a beautiful, very detailed document on Jeevan Kaushal over there. You go through it, read through it. It talks about the various skills which they want to focus on during the academic curricula year. So what is Jeevan Kaushal? The word itself is very interesting. Uh, I don't know if you people are Diksharam, Mulya Pravah, Jeevan Kaushal. These are terms and words which are now a part of our UGC curriculum and which each institution is implementing and practicing. We've just finished with Jeevan Kaushal at our place as well. Now, what is the meaning of Jeevan Kaushal? Life is the greatest teacher, but to learn from life, you require skills, which are called life skills or simply Jeevan Kaushal. What are life skills? The abilities for adaptive and positive behavior that enable the individuals to deal effectively with the demands and challenges of everyday life. It could be in their personal lives, it could be in their professional lives. So, what are these skills that we want to develop ourselves and among our students so that they can more effectively deal with the various things which come their way on a daily basis? The biggest challenge today is something like this chaotic environment in which we live. If we talk of ethics, we have conscious choice, honor, value, integrity, morals, principles, honesty. Professional, we have exams, self-esteem, bullying, relationship, tuition fee. So I found all of these very, very expressive, very comprehensive. Communication, what do I focus on? Should I focus on written? Should I focus on non-verbal? Verbals, what? Business activity, emotions, all of these. People are everywhere, whether it's work, college, wherever you are. Concentration, I talked about briefly. Stress, anger management, loneliness, sadness, studying, anxiety, all of these. So these are the challenges of everyday life. And that is why Jeevan Kaushal is what we are talking about, because it helps or equips you to better be able to respond or respond more effectively to these challenges which everyday life throws at all of us. So Curriculum for Life Skills or Jeevan Kaushal briefly talks about communication skills, professional skills, the leadership and management skills, and universal human values. This in very brief is what Jeevan Kaushal or life skills is all about. Life skills or the curriculum for life skills is part of the UGC. Like I said, it's an initiative for providing life skills. Soft skills are included in this, not just the cognitive part of it. And the human values are a very key component of this. Uh, we design, we systematize, consolidate, and stimulate the process of teaching. That is why life skill has been introduced as a curricular design. Skills form part of essential learning systems, no matter where you are and what you propose to do. These skills will hold you in good stead. You will be able to meet these challenges head on and mostly overcome them successfully. So, life skills are what we learn and teach throughout life. We learn as well. That's what we are doing today. That's what we are supposed to do on a daily basis. First, upgrade ourselves, update ourselves, improve ourselves, and then only can are we in a position to really transfer them or share them with someone else. So, objective of Jivan Kaushal is to enhance one's ability to fully be self-aware by helping oneself overcome all fears and insecurities. These are on the rise. Go back to that slide where so much of chaos is all around us on all fronts, at the individual as well, internal as well as external. So, this is one of the objectives, that the insecurities and fears, it better prepares you for handling and dealing with these. The knowledge and awareness of emotional competency to provide opportunity for realizing one's potential through practical experience, to develop interpersonal skills and adopt good leadership behavior, set appropriate goals. How to manage time effectively is very, very important. That is the one thing which runs short every day. 24 hours sometimes just don't seem enough. And manage competency. What is the right mixture? What is the area in which adequacy is enough, in which excellence is required or is mandatory? So competency mix is another for achieving excellence. Now, in the curriculum for life skills, again, we enhance one's ability to fully be self-aware by helping oneself to overcome. So this more or less I have discovered. Here I come to the communication skills, professional skills. I've just put down some of these points which are over there under each quadrant. Leadership and management skills. No matter at what level of our careers we are, leadership and management skills are absolutely mandatory. We need to manage them. So, of the communication skills, the one skill which today quite often I find in absence or paid less attention to is the listening skill. Listening itself has many dimensions to it. And I would have loved to go into those also. But listening is an art form, both at the individual as well as the team level. It's not just that when you're talking one on one, first listen to your own self. What is your own awareness level? Then, when you're talking one on one, and then when you're in a group, listening even there is an art form which needs to be practiced and developed. Professional skills, of course, we have career skills, resume skills, group discussions, team skills, presentation skills, trust and collaboration, listening as a team skill, brainstorming, social, cultural, and etiquettes. All of these today constitute and contribute towards our जीवन कौशल. हम अपने जीवन में कितने कुशल होंगे, ये जीवन कौशल ही हमें उसकी तैयारी कराएगा. Behavioral science courses have been introduced at all professional and leadership skills, skills of communication, power, support, so self-management skills, trust and collaboration. These are things which we need to prepare and to practice both ourselves as well as amongst our students. Conflict management, negotiation and managerial skills. In communication skills, what we just saw in that figure earlier, I've just listed them down a little more in detail over here. Effective use of social media today is a challenge which each faculty must be very well equipped with. How to respond, quite often not respond to what you see on social media, how to manage it, how to control it, how to be effective in using it. This is one which has taken a place of prominence today. So out of these, I would definitely say that if you're not completely familiar and equipped then take some time out and equip yourself properly on the use of social media, uh, resume skills, interview skills, um, what writing in different modes of teaching. This is very important. Another form which we are using today very often is to communicate with our students through WhatsApp and emails. So we need to be very clear. Every word has to be selected and chosen carefully as to what it communicates. It should not be construed in any other manner than the one which it is intended to be used in and interpreted in. That should not change. So we need to be very careful. We need to check our spellings. We need to check our grammar before we send any message to the student body. Because once it's out there in the ether, then it cannot be taken back. It's not written on paper where you can just burn it or tear it up. It is there for eternity, or that is what they tell me. So we need to be very careful, particularly when sharing or communicating with our colleagues, with our student audiences. And of course, all of these, I'm sure all you're working on. Coming to the universal human values, it includes renunciation. When we talk of the endorphins, when we talk about all those things, somewhere when you do something and you check yourself on something so that others may benefit, that in a simple manner is the way I interpret this sense of renunciation, sacrifice. I am not talking about renunciating the world and moving to the hills. Please don't misinterpret or misrepresent me. Truth, non-violence, righteousness, peace, and service. These are the universal human values. Each of these is a session in its own. So I'm just mentioning them here before I finish my session today. And with that, I would say thank you so much for your patience and staying power, I will say. लंच आवर में 1 घंटा आप लोग सब बैठे हैं. Hats off to you. Now I am open to your suggestions, your thoughts, your inputs. Please unmute yourselves and the session is open. If I can, I would love to answer some of the queries and questions of my colleagues.
I can see lots of messages like your session is very informative, it's very impressive, it's valuable, and lots of thanks from the participants to you. And there is one question which was asked meanwhile, and I'll just read it out. Dr. Reena Baral has asked a question. Family background is an important factor in learning. How to overcome this barrier through teaching? And also the faculty struggle with the time limit and deadline, and completion of course is also a basic requirement. Then how to make teaching too much qualitative in nature? So that is a question from Reena ma'am.
It's a whole story. First of all, let me say that time constraint is something that I fight and I am challenged with on a daily basis. So we are all in the same boat. There is much more to do than the time which is given to us. As a result, yes, finding that right balance between how much time you can give to your family and how much you can give to your professional commitments is challenging, and there is no set answer or set format to this. Except, yes, what I have seen works to a larger extent is when we are in office, when we are in class, when we are in our cabins on campus, then those 8 or 9 hours are more than sufficient to finish off. होता यह है वो 8 घंटे में से 3-4 घंटे actually serious काम होता है. I'm talking as a colleague. So I've been a faculty for so long. I know effectively 3, 4, or 5 hours are used, another 3 are wasted. So वो 3 hours का log you carry over home, and then at night you'll be staying up and trying to meet those timelines and deadlines, those reports which you have to generate, those data which you have to submit. Because now NAC and all of these, there's a huge amount of record keeping involved. And we as faculties or heads of institutions are bound to meet those minimum requirements. So I know it's a constant challenge. So if we can plan out our day, next day, one day in advance, most of our things, if we, the things which we have to do, if we can put timelines to it and make the effort not to let those timelines extend, कि अच्छा नहीं हुआ कोई बात नहीं कल कर लेंगे, नहीं, आज लिखा था तो आज ही करके सोना है. That teaches me a lesson कि I am losing out half an hour of sleep, but there's nothing pending. So I may sleep half an hour less, but the remaining sleep will be peaceful. If that half an hour is pending on my head, the remaining sleep will also be tension, filled of tension and dreams. I don't know, sometimes bosses come in the dreams also. So कि वो हुई नहीं रिपोर्ट तैयार, वो हुआ नहीं. So Dr. Manisha, I'm sure you understand. But so this is human nature. We are all in the same boat. Times are very challenging. If you ask me, I finished my academic career in 80s. तब क्या हम लोगों ने पढ़ा था और आज हम क्या पढ़ रहे हैं और कर रहे हैं, जमीन आसमान का फर्क है. So every day I need to take at least 2-3 hours out, which I'm able to steal after dinner and when most of my family has gone to sleep. 2-3 hours to upgrade myself, to educate myself, upskill myself. Now today, management faculty, or particularly, let's say in my case, if I'm getting into analytics, I need to know Python or R. Now, why do I need to know Python? Python, I'm not a programmer. I'm not, a computer geek. But no, if it is required, so I'm spending that time, dheere dheere sahi, but I have to be upskilled. Because when I walk into the classroom, I don't want to feel disrespected. I need to earn that respect from the students. And for that, I have to go the extra mile. Students today are very discerning, बहुत smart होते हैं. They will say, ये तो इंटरनेट पे था, अब कुछ नया बताओ. So we need to be prepared for that. And that is where if we say कि जो इंटरनेट पे है तुम पढ़ के आना, हम उस पर डिस्कशन करेंगे, we will do the application. And one thing which I tell each of my students is, please make our lives miserable as faculties by asking questions. That is your birthright. ये आपका जन्मसिद्ध अधिकार है as a student. Ask questions which will trouble us, which will send us back looking for answers. That keeps us automatically updated and on our toes. We deliver better. We have that sense of achievement, dopamine that I was talking about. We get that when a tough question is thrown at us and we are able to answer it. And sometimes we are not able to have that answer. We are not omniscient. हम सर्वज्ञानी नहीं हैं. So once or twice I have told the students, look, I am not sure about the answer. Let me come back to you tomorrow on this. So I want to first go find out the right answer and then come back rather than make a wrong representation. So these are tools which all of you, I'm sure, are facing, practicing. And time challenges are a real thing, but I hope some things will normalize over the next few months, or maybe about 6 months or a year's time, because this blended thing is putting a lot of pressure on all of us. I don't know about you, but in our case, since till 5:30 normal classes are going on, so the head office and the management meetings are after 5:30. So it becomes sone pe suhaga. But it's a way of life which I'm sure will not persist. It's here for some time. So abhi thoda mushkil hai. And families also are adjusting. They know that we are sitting at home, but okay, when we are on the screen, then we are not to be disturbed. Mom, when she's seen at home, is still not reachable. So all those things are happening. Anything else from any of you, it would be wonderful. Though I'm keeping you from lunch, but for me, it had been a session which I was really looking forward to, because it's been a long time since I've had the opportunity. And these are new things which have come in. We have been talking about कहीं थोड़ी सी इसकी बात हो जाती थी, कहीं उसकी बात हो जाती थी, but now they've put it all together. The challenge is for us to be effectively implemented. And this, I don't think, will be possible unless we have very good mentors in place. Faculty खाली class में पढ़ा के ये काम हो नहीं पाएगा successfully. So mentor-mentee system we have created, which we'll be following, we are following on a regular basis, tracking and keeping the remarks and observations. So these are things, these are tools which I'm sure we can connect one-on-one also. And any of you ever want to connect with me, please feel free. I am very much accessible, both online and offline. Uh, Himanshi is we are privileged to have her as a scholar, research scholar there, and she does us proud. That is, see, as faculties, we, whatever earnings come from our scholars, from our students. When they rise above us, that is when we have actually done something right. And that gives you the sense of satisfaction, which is all our real earning. Our earning is not in terms of money. So whenever, if you feel dissatisfied, knowingly you must have come into this education sector. Money is not going to be there. A small telewala earns possibly more money than a faculty does. So that should not, don't let that factor ever reduce your commitment in this profession. Because if you want to make money, earn money, then there are thousands and millions of places where you can do that. But education is a different objective. And that's one of the reasons it was a very difficult decision for me. After 15 years in the industry, I was making good amount of money. But coming here to education, I came down. But then I'm happy. I'm at least happy in what I'm doing. That is more important at the end of the day. Thank you so much. And I think I have spoken enough. What about your session? I think, is there another one planned after this, or shall we close as the management says? Is Dr. Rajiv here? I would like to thank him as well for inviting me here. But if not, then no problem.
But we'll surely convey
Hmm.
to him.
Your voice is a little not थोड़ा हल्की आ रही है और मेरे को हल्की आ रही है.
Am I audible now, sir?
Yeah, very well.
It's not in the session yet, but we'll surely convey what your words to him. And we need not to say that the session was very informative. It is already, their feedback is already given in the chat box by the participants. So I would just like to call upon Manisha ma'am once again to thank you for the session. Over to you, Manisha.
Yes, ma'am, you are rightly said. As per our expectations, sir, it was a very informative session, and thank you very much for this name. And we are really very grateful for you that you are accepting our invitation and also taking out your time for us. So once again, thank you, sir. And over to Himanshi.
That is all for today's session. And would like to see all the participants in the next session. Thank you. Thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you, sir, for taking out your precious time.
Thank you
and
so much, everyone.
Sharing your insights on the topic.
Thank you.
One last request, kindly open your windows so that we can have it. Okay, we are done. Thank you, participants, for giving your time on Sunday. We will meet you tomorrow. Thank you. Jai Hind.
And